What you are all about in your love of this hobby is a love affair with nature.
Well, hello. Come right on in. You're at Father Fish.
What does it genuinely mean? What does it genuinely mean to be in a relationship with nature? Because frankly, that's really what we're all about. We are all about reestablishing the fundamental relationship between each of us as individuals and the natural world. Now, why are we doing this? Because we're living in an age in which the natural world is treated as the enemy. Oh, there are those who are all up in arms over how we are treating the enemy terribly, as though we need to somehow remove the human equation so that nature can be normalized. That is not simply utter nonsense. It is malicious. It is malicious because it denies that human beings are a fundamental function of the nature system established here on this earth. So what do we do about that? We reestablish the natural relationship between human beings and the natural world. That's precisely what having a natural aquarium is all about. What I want to discuss with you is the basic tenet that we are being defrauded from accessing the very thing that aquarium exists to permit. And what is that? It is a personal relationship, a knowledge of and experience of nature in that little glass box. It's just that simple. There's been extensive research, and by extensive, I mean hundreds of research projects have been completed and published, which demonstrate conclusively the extreme significance to the health and well-being of human beings who have aquariums. This is not something that has gone unnoticed by the scientific establishment. It is well documented in research that has gone on for years, looking at emotional well-being, looking at psychological conditioning, looking at physical health, and virtually all of the other measurements by which we can evaluate the relationship between human beings and, in this case, an aquarium. That provides a means of well-being, a means of health, but more importantly, it provides an understanding that we are, in fact, part of the global system of nature and not somehow separated from it. We are not separated from it. Now, much has been made in an effort to create this division of the destructive violence that human beings do to the nature system. If you look at the statistics, if you look at the facts, the research, the scientific research, two things become very clear. Number one, CO2 emissions peaked 50 years ago and have been on the decline for 50 years. 50 years. There are substantially fewer CO2 emissions today than there were 50 years ago. Number two, the volume of coral life in, as one example, the Australian reef is greater today than it has ever been.
The Great Barrier Reef recorded the highest amount of coral in 36 years, and maybe longer, because that's the amount of time that we've been studying and measuring the reef on the Great Barrier Reef. Why is nobody telling you that?
Anyone who has been in the Florida Bay over the last 10 years knows that there are far more zoanthids, a primary form of soft coral, in the Florida Bay than ever existed prior to that, in variety, in color, and in sheer volume. The fact is that nature is not in a process of breaking down, but rather breaking through. Nature is dominant. Nature is inclusive. Now, there may be a given instance in which a given animal or plant is becoming extinct. That has happened throughout the entire history of life on Earth. That is a natural and normal function of the nature system. Nature itself is not becoming extinct, but the environment changes. Certain animals and plants become more dominant and others more recessive. May well come a time when human beings lose their dominance by virtue of some other event that we know nothing about. Perhaps another creature develops a higher, more well-developed organizational structure that threatens the very existence of human beings. Certainly is what we describe as human beings doing. If you look at it carefully and understand clearly, that is not a function of nature breaking down. It is a function of nature rather doing what nature does. It feeds upon itself. Every living thing feeds on living things. Every living thing feeds on living things. Our role as one creature in the nature system is to feed on other aspects of nature. Now we do this, we try to do this in a way that maintains the stability of our food supply. And in point of fact, we are producing far more food today on far less acreage, feeding far more people than has ever been the case. So we're doing an utterly remarkable job of feeding ourselves and at the same time having a smaller impact on nature writ large. The reality is that human beings are in the most positive, wholesome, creative, supportive, nurturing relationship with nature than any other creature, like it or not. And those who don't like it want you to be afraid of nature, want you to believe that you are destroying nature, when nothing of the sort is true. So where does that leave us? That leaves us with our little natural aquariums. And it leaves us specifically with the joy of that little natural aquarium. And not just the joy, but the celebration. And not just the celebration, but the love. The love for what is going on, what is represented to us, and what we are participating in as we create and nurture and allow to flourish that little glass box. It's small, so we can only do small things. But we imagine, some of us, much larger aquaria, much larger environments, where much larger and grander aspects of the nature system will be allowed to flourish. will be encouraged to flourish. Public aquariums are precisely that. Now, I grant you, very few aquarists in public aquariums have got it through their thick heads yet that that facility can function as a natural environment. It's not that it can't, it's that they simply have not figured out that it can and that it should, and that provided the least bit of encouragement, it will. So let me leave you with that. Let me leave you with the understanding that what you are all about in your love of this hobby is a love affair with nature, a love affair with all that goes on in the world that brings health, vibrancy, joy, celebration, yes, babies, a future. Need I say more? Need I say more? Let us then be in love with nature in our little fish tanks. Join us on our Discord channel, the Father Fish Show. Check out our store. We have lots of plants for sale. We're not selling fish, we probably won't, but we're selling plants because with plants you can make that aquarium really come alive and thrive. And we sell all the fixings for it too, all the supplements and the soil and everything. Join, be part of this love affair. Love you all. Bye for now.